The Toronto Blue Jays start this seven-game road trip on the right track as they just win 5-1 against the San Diego Padres. Wasn't always pretty tonight, but the pitching did its job. We saw some defensive web gems from the Blue Jays, and the offense came up with some timely hits early. So we'll break that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Toronto Blue Jays start this seven-game road trip off on the right foot as they beat the San Diego Padres 5-1. It wasn't always pretty tonight, but the pitching really looked good. I mean, from inning 1 to 9, they looked real good. Yariel Rodriguez threw a gem of an outing. And the offense, I mean, they were coming out like a house on fire to start off this game, but then didn't really have much to go forward after those first two innings. But still, they got what they needed. They got the job done, and a great way to start off this long road trip for the Toronto Blue Jays on the West Coast.
Yeah, very, very encouraging start, especially after the heartbreaking loss against the New York Yankees last time. The team came in, and Peter, these games are super late for us, but the Blue Jays weren't sleeping. They came out very, very good. And a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button before we get into it. It would mean the world if you could do that. Now, Peter, there's a lot to discuss today, and the main focus obviously has to be on a couple of key players, and we'll start with Ariel Rodriguez, and then we're going to get into Daulton Varsho, who is turning himself into probably the best, or at least one of the best, obviously, defensive outfielders in the game. But let's start with Yariel Rodriguez, Peter. We watched it. 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 Ks. He looked absolutely dominant, and the only thing now that he really needs to work on is trying to get deeper into these games as his pitch count increases. We saw Alek Manoah pitch for the AAA Bisons tonight. He actually ended up doing okay, 5 2/3, I believe, 6 hits, 1 run, something like that. But Peter, he is our starter of the future, or one of our starters of the future. He's going to be in this rotation for a very long time. His stuff plays. His pitches are nasty. We've seen him touch 97, and it's about time that Jays fans and everyone alike really put the MLB on notice, really, with these first 2 starts against a pretty stacked San Diego Padres team. Obviously, they don't have Juan Soto anymore, but the pitching today was, I mean, it's the Blue Jays pitching is speechless. It's unbelievable. I don't know what else to say or how else to say it.
Yeah, and they definitely did their job tonight. And Yariel Rodriguez, you look at his line, you see 80 pitches in 4 innings. You're wondering, oh, must have not had great control tonight. He must have not had his best stuff, but he did. It is just a stacked San Diego Padres lineup. Like you said, they were fouling pitches off. They were being pesky, but he was fighting through it. And obviously, he made that one mistake to Fernando Tatis, and he paid for it. But he was real sharp all night, and he was able to locate his pitches. His slider looked a lot better than it did in his first outing, and just an overall solid game out of him. And yeah, he is definitely a starter of the future. He signed that long-term deal with the Blue Jays, the 5-year deal, and I think he's going to be a big part of this team going forward. I don't know how big of an impact he's going to have this year, considering that he didn't pitch last season and he's now starting games. So is there an innings limit on him? What's going on that front? Time will tell. But so far, the early returns on Yariel Rodriguez have been really good, and he's been a lot of fun to watch in his first 2 outings.
Yeah, and you look at kind of the background or the pitcher who went after Yariel Rodriguez, who was Bowden Francis. He went 2 innings, 1 hit. He did exactly what the Jays have been clamoring for him to do, and you mentioned the pitch count limit. Not only for this game, but for the season. It's going to be interesting to see what his inning limit ends up being, and even how the pitch count increases for the rest of the year, because they're going to want to preserve him, hopefully, for as long as possible, which is why Bowden Francis is still in this team, and maybe why they saw Mitch White get DFA'd. They want to keep Bowden Francis around to piggyback off of Yariel Rodriguez so they can go a combined 6 innings tonight. And then we saw the bullpen shut him down. Tim Meza, Jimmy Garcia, and Jordan Romano. I mean, Jimmy Garcia melted through the heart of the Padres order like he's done all season. Cronenworth, Machado, everyone. Jimmy Garcia is one of the best relievers. He might be the best reliever in baseball right now. If you had to pick one reliever and you're just looking at the stats, Peter, he is dominant. He's touching 98. We've seen him touch 99.5. He's been crazy. But let's touch on the offense a little bit. You look at the hits, and after the 4th inning there really wasn't much. IKF almost had an inside the park home run. Bo Bichette went 2 for 5. Vladdy went 2 for 5. Turner went 2 for 4. Very fun game. Jansen's getting his legs back under him. Peter, Daulton Varsho, who went 0 for 4, and he still is going to get the biggest praise of this game just for a few reasons. We saw him make a couple of great catches, a sliding catch, and also the one I'm going to show you on your screen right now in case you missed it. I mean, my jaw dropped when this was hit. It was hit 104.5 miles per hour off the bat with a 5% catch probability, and he caught it. And you look at Kevin Kiermaier, he had a few plays this game. Kevin Kiermaier's bat's starting to get going, and if Daulton Varsho's back and continue to do what it's been doing in the last series and over the past 10 or so games, I don't know the exact amount of games, arbitrary number, but the past few games where he's kind of been heating up, Peter, the defense saves so many runs.
Yes, and if he doesn't win the Gold Glove this year for left field or just outfield in general, someone's got to get fired. Whoever is making that decision over there, I can't believe he didn't win it last year. He led all outfielders in defensive runs saved. He's so good, Nick, and he just makes those plays look routine. And I know that it was early. Yariel Rodriguez settled down after that, but if he doesn't make that catch, let's say it's someone else in left field and the ball hits off the wall, maybe Ariel Rodriguez doesn't settle in so nicely. If that's the case, maybe he doesn't have as good of an outing if the first batter that he faces hits one off the wall and then it's rolling for hours and he's standing on third. So I think it was a very underrated play in the course of the game. The Blue Jays started off kind of hot because Justin Turner homered in the top of the first inning. And then if that ball drops, San Diego's right back in it and they have a chance to tie the game up or even potentially take the lead after your good start on the offensive end. So that was a very crucial catch by Daulton Varsho. He's been great out there all season long. He plays platinum glove level defense. I wouldn't even say it's gold glove because we don't see anything like it around the major leagues. So another great performance out of him defensively. He even hit a foul ball that would have been a home run. I mean, just hooked it a little bit too much. But yeah, his bat's starting to come around. We know the defense is there. We know how great of a base runner he is. And if he puts it all together, that's a 5-win player right there, and that's a pretty damn valuable one as well.
Yeah, it's a good point because you can see I'll play it for the third time. It was the first hitter of the game, so who knows what would have happened if that ended up being whether it was a double off the wall, a triple, depending. But the defense is something that obviously last year was maybe too much of a focus or was too much of a, not necessarily a focus, but too much of a, I don't know, it left a sour taste in Blue Jays fans' kind of mouths just because of how lackluster the offense was. Peter, quickly before we wrap up here, just want to get your thoughts on Vladdy and Bo Bichette and what you saw from them before I wrap up, because they obviously Turner's been doing his thing all year. They both had very solid games in a game where George Springer was absent. So any quick thoughts on that before we wrap up? Obviously, the rest of the guys kind of been doing their thing, but I think they're slowly getting there. Obviously, who knows how the rest of the series will play out, but they're slowly getting there, going 2 for 5 each.
Yeah, if I'm being totally honest with you, Nick, I wasn't really impressed with either one of them. I mean, Vladdy got a couple of weak hits, rolled one through the right side, and it found its way into right field. And then he got that scratch hit that drove in a run. Look, I'm not complaining. We're going to take those because they ended up being pretty big hits and driving in runs. And then Bo Bichette, same thing. I mean, the bobble by Bogarts caused an infield hit, and then he rolled one down the right field line. That was a good piece of hitting. I'll give him some credit there. But yeah, some questionable swing decisions as well. Some missing some hittable pitches. So not a great night out of them, but they didn't need it. I mean, the rest of the offense showed up and they got contributions from other guys in the lineup. So when it matters most, you'd like to see Bo and Vladdy really step it up and find a groove and be the guys that are driving the offense. But they didn't need it tonight. I wasn't overly impressed with them, but still, good game on the surface if you're just looking at the box score.
Yeah, that's I mean, yeah, that's the best way to put it. They need to start driving in driving the ball a little bit more. But we'll take the win. That'll wrap it up. Let us know what your thoughts are. It's very late, 2:30 in the morning for me. So hopefully you like the video if you enjoy it, and if you want to check out the video from yesterday, click on your screen now. We will see you tomorrow.